Welcome to the first episode of Amanda Makes a Mess. I'm Amanda and I make a lot of messes. Sometimes those messes turn into art, sometimes they turn into garbage. Let's see which one it is this week. I made my first mess with this week's video before I even got started. The video that you're seeing now is not actually intended to be this week's video. It was supposed to be next week's video. The one I had intended to upload this week was supposed to be a Chinese zodiac themed drawing for New Year's, but I ended up getting sick and I didn't have time to get it finished. I was still in the process of editing that, but this was supposed to be next week's video, and somehow I had already had it finished before I finished this week's video, so I decided I would just switch the two, and next week you'll get to see the video that you're supposed to be seeing right now. This video is actually intended to be the first in a 3-part series of videos. For this one, I'm drawing Alice from Alice in Wonderland in the Disney art style. In this next video, not next week's, but probably the week after, I'll be drawing the Disney version of Alice from the movie, but instead of in the Disney art style, I'll be drawing her in my art style. And then in the final video in this series, I'm going to do an kind of a redesign of Alice's character to be more modern, but still based on the Walt Disney version of Alice, the Alice that was in the original book, and the girl who inspired the character of Alice. I'm doing this drawing in Sketchbook 11, which is my 11th sketchbook since I started numbering my sketchbooks sometime in, I think, around March or April of 2019. This one is an ELO sketchbook, which has quickly turned into my favorite. I think this is like the 4th or 5th one that I've had. And this one, I'm actually using a regular pencil. I usually use mechanical pencils because that way I don't have to sharpen them. I don't have to worry about the pencil shavings or whether or not I have a pencil sharpener with me, because it's just easier. But this is just the pencil that I picked up to use when I sat down to start drawing, so this is what I ended up going with. I'm not even sure what kind it is. It's probably just something I bought off a clearance shelf during the back to school clearance sale, honestly, because that's where I get most of my pencils from. And now we've gotten to the most boring part of the video, which I think is weird because when I'm just sitting here drawing, inking the sketch is actually one of my favorite parts of drawing because I get to play with line widths and how thin or thick the line is. It helps bring visual interest to different parts of an image, and it can help draw attention to different things. Anything that's outlined with a thicker line and has more black in it tends to be the thing that stands out the most. So actually doing it to me is interesting because I get to pick which parts of the drawing that I want to stand out the most. But sitting here watching it while I'm editing, inking is just the most boring thing ever because I just did this sketch. Now I'm basically just going over the sketch and doing the sketch again. The markers I'm using for this one are the 48 set of Ohuhu brush tip markers. They're actually probably my favorite markers next to Copics. And right now I actually like them better than Copics because I've not been able to find the refills for my Copic markers for quite a while. I think like since April. And there's some of those that I use a lot that I don't already have ink refills for. I'm not sure exactly which two markers I'm using here because I actually filmed this video about 2 weeks before I'm doing the voiceover. But if I had to guess, I would say the light yellow one is barium yellow because it's my go-to marker for light yellow. The darker yellow is probably, I think, called Sunflower. The flesh tone ones are from the Ohuhu flesh tone set of markers, so that's a different set from the other markers, the yellow ones. I think I used, for the lighter color, something called Pear something. Maybe it was just actually named Pear Color. I'm not sure. And the darker flesh tone I'm using for the shading and the shadows is, I think, Barely Beige. I'm not 100% sure about that because, like I said, it has been a long time since I actually filmed this video. And here we're switching back to the same set of markers that I was using for her hair. I know I'm using Cool Grays for this, but I'm not sure which number. I think it might be 2 for the lightest color and 4 for the darker one. I'm not completely sure. It could be 2 for the darker color and 00 for the lighter color. I can't really remember. But on the biggest part of her apron, right here, where I'm coloring now, I know I was using an old marker because it's, if you could hear it, that it started squeaking really badly. I was barely getting any ink out of it here. And right here at the end is where I made my big mistake. Right here. My battery died, and after I changed batteries, right here, I forgot to push the record button, and I ended up coloring her whole dress without recording it. So here's a close-up, and that's the end of this week's video. I think we can call this week's mess art instead of garbage, and I will see you next week for another episode of Amanda Makes a Mess. Bye.